Hello everybody, I'm Carlos and I'm here today with Reverend Tish Malloy. And before we start our conversation, I want just to, if you're liking it, the podcast, the Circle Update, either on YouTube or on Spotify or on Apple, please like us. And if you know of anybody that may be interested in this, send it their way so that we can more and more know about what is happening in the Oklahoma Annual Conference. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for your support. And I hope that, well, we're doing the best we can to promote and what is happening and what is going on in our conference. All right, so without further ado, many of you already know Reverend Tish Malloy, and now she's been recently appointed to a new district.
Yes.
But not necessarily to a new area or an extended area per se. Yeah. So I guess my first question, just go right into the topic. It is, what does it feel to be back in this area, familiar to you in many respects that you have served previously as a DS?
Yeah, the North Central District is the same area that I served before. And I love the area, love the people. I like the diversity of the churches and being a part of that. I'm really enjoying getting to know the new churches and the new pastors.
Yeah, great, great. So I'm assuming that there was a lot of driving in before and in your foreseeable future.
There is a lot of driving, and luckily I like driving.
Good, great.
And the geography of my area is just gorgeous.
Awesome.
And so it's beautiful.
That's great. That's great. And in particular, this now going to the fall, the sunsets and the sunrises and all that area is very pretty. All right, so we have done this. This is our second edition with DS as a kind of leading our podcast, and we asked Reverend John Brion to talk about some churches or a church that he would like to lift up. So in this case, I would like to ask you the same question. If you have any church of the month, if you will, or churches of the month, or ministries of the month that you would like to, lift up, and these ministries or churches, or the ministry that these church or churches are doing, that can be reputable across our denomination, across our conference.
Well, there's something I'd like to see duplicated that I had absolutely nothing to do with beginning. And that is our districts now, some of them, not all of them, but some of them are so large that we have to find ways to be together and to serve together. Yeah. And so what I decided to do was to break up the North Central District into quadrants. And I'm meeting in those areas with the pastors and with the laity in those areas. And so that's been very successful. But one of the things that happened is that two of the pastors in the southeast quadrant of the North Central District, better know your directions now in Oklahoma, the southeast quadrant, which a number of the churches are on Route 66. Okay. They decided that a lot of the churches in their area didn't have enough youth to have successful youth groups yet.
Right.
But that their area had enough youth to have a successful youth gathering. And so they have created what they're calling Worship on 66. And they're inviting all of the churches in their quadrant to bring youth to gather together. Yeah. And this is not a new thing that has, in the past we've had youth gatherings in our districts. Yeah. But now, when they're so large, if you were to have one, some kids would be driving 2-3 hours to be a part of a youth gathering. When we do this in a quadrant, it's much more doable.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I like that the kids are going to get to know each other, the pastors and the youth leaders are going to get to know each other, and I anticipate them being able to go to camp and do things conference-wide that they might not otherwise have done if this gathering had not been put together by these two pastors. And so I'm hoping that gets duplicated in the other quadrants of our district and around the conference.
Yes. So how many churches do you think that are participating or will participate in this?
I think there's going to be 6 to 8
Oh, that's awesome.
Churches in that area.
That's great. That's great. So you hear it. If you're in that quadrant, please please send your laity and your children and your youth, but also if you're in the other quadrants in the North Central District, maybe you want to start to practice that or think about it.
Yes, and I've asked the pastors, I said, you're starting this for your area, but you're also starting it for our district.
Yes.
So please put together, everything you had to do. How did you organize it? What did you learn in the process, so that we can bring that to the other quadrants?
Yeah, that's important. What has been a blessing as you are transitioning back into, as I said, it's a familiar area, but it is a new phase, a new reality, new circumstances on these your new DS. As you start as a new DS in this area, what do you think are your blessings, or what you've seen as a blessing so far?
So I communicated with the pastors early on to tell them what my schedule will be, so they know how to contact me when I'm actually taking a Sabbath, and that I expect them to do the same. And that will not be on Sunday for me. On Sundays, one of the greater blessings is going to all these churches. I told the pastors, look, I will schedule at least one church a Sunday, sometimes two, and even, I don't know about 3 yet, but if there's a 2-point charge that someone's serving, I want to visit the charge.
Right.
And I've told the pastors, when I come to visit, I want to hear you preach. I want to participate in your service of worship. And so that's really been the greatest blessing, frankly, is connecting to the pastors, telling them, look, this is of interest to me, I want to do that. And then I get to encourage them also, and meet with the people. Another blessing, going back to a similar area, some of the churches are churches that I've known people in those churches, so it's kind of a homecoming for some of them, and then meeting new people for others. So it's just wonderful.
All around.
Yeah.
Great. Is there when Reverend John Breon was here, he said, well, I have, I'm a traveling office, so wherever he goes, and so we launch here the challenge, if you will, that if you, for whatever reason you are in a particular quadrant or a particular area in your district, that maybe that church can open, an unutilized room, or where you can work and be your office of the day or whatever it is. So I don't know if you are planning to do a similar thing, or if so, we can tell the good people of North Central that
right
invite you to be there in the church as an office.
Well, they already have.
Oh, he already have.
So I decided to have a quadrant meeting with the pastors to start right out, and did that 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And my district administrator, Diane Bull, I should say our district administrator, she is the administrator for the whole district. Diane contacted the churches and said, the first one in each of quadrant to say, I'll host the district superintendent and the pastors of the quadrant gets it. Doesn't matter, and we had lunch meetings, and we said, look, we know not everybody can get a lunch put together easily for 10, 12, 15 people. Yeah. So if you'd like to host a lunch, wonderful, and we'd be happy to reimburse for cost. If you'd rather have just the people come and host us and we bring in the lunch, we'll do that. Well, everywhere we went wanted to host, and we did the 4 quadrants, and in only one quadrant did we go to a large church, which was a real blessing for all of us. And in each meeting, I would ask the pastors, have you been to this church before? Have you been to this community? Yeah. And more than half, each time, more than half, had not ever been in that church or ever been in that community. And the hospitality of the churches was just tremendous. They wanted to have us there. And so we had a couple of hours meeting, we talked about a lot of things. including Charge Conference, and really got to know each other better in smaller groups. It's again one of my goals is for the pastors in those quadrants to know each other. A lot of them hadn't met each other before, and to think about how they can collaborate in ministry with each other. Just yesterday, I was at a church. The pastor is needing a little help moving. She's moving. They've done some work on the parsonage, and so she's moving in. And I said to her, "Have you considered talking to the churches around you to ask for some help?" She was going to get her little youth group to help her. Great. What about getting the kids from the other churches together or others?
Sure.
And so it was like a light went on. The week before, she'd been at lunch with those people, so she knew. Well, I can call so and so. I can call. And that's really, when I heard her say that, I thought, okay, we're getting there.
Yes,
we're getting there.
That's great. That's great. That's awesome. That's good to know. That's good to know. And you guys are knocking it out of the park, seems like. That's great. That's awesome.
Well, we had 4 good lunches.
All right. So I know that you've been, to say busy is understatement, that you've been, from meeting to meeting to meeting to training for training to training. So tell us, and everybody, all of us, what do you do to get back to, I'm calling it, to the heart of ministry, and not just being bogged down by the busyness and the business of ministry? You're right. So, what are the things that you do that maybe some will take advantage of it?
Recently, by recently I mean within the last 6 months, my husband and I have started participating in an online, it's an app called Lectio 365. And it's lectionary readings, and it's also, it's just a really interesting app. And it has a morning and an evening time of prayer and reflection. And so that has developed into really important for Dave and I. And interestingly enough, when I've mentioned it to people, I've found quite a few people in my district are also using Lectio 365. And so that's been good to hear. I also, I try to read all of the lectionary every day. And take some time. I am not the best at that. I do chair yoga.
Oh yeah, yes.
And the teacher that I use, again, online, on YouTube, I really like her because she kind of has a balance of the exercise and also the meditative practice. That helps me. And I did tell our pastors that I take a Sabbath on Fridays and to midday on Saturday, well, later in the afternoon on Saturday. And that gave them good guideline, I hope, on contacting me during that time.
Sure.
So that's very important. I'm not sure I've answered your question.
No, you
I kind of
did. You
rambled a
did.
little.
Yeah, it just centers you back and everything.
It does. It really does.
Yeah.
I like to garden. I've not done, my garden's burned up completely because I've been away so much. But I'm looking forward to cooler temperatures and to being able to get back out and get my hands in the dirt.
I know, yeah. Well, you kind of touched to kind of one of the, we're wrapping this up, just two more questions. One is that you said, about a hobby or something that it is kind of non-related to ministry, so to speak, or, it could be, but so you said gardening, you like to do gardening. There's anything else that you like to do besides, like as I said, that kind of unplugs you and makes you feel like, Sabbath?
Okay. No, not Sabbath, but something that is important to me.
Yeah.
My family is very important to me, and I cannot believe that I'm blessed enough that all of my grandchildren live close to me and Dave.
Yes.
And so whenever we can, which is almost every Friday, we have what we call Cousins Night. And one 3-year-old, one 2-year-old, and one 5-year-old, I pick them up.
Awesome.
And they stay the night with Nana and Papa, and what happens at Nana and Papa's house stays at Nana and Papa's house.
Awesome.
And we just have a good time with them, and their parents have an evening that we hope is restful for them. And we're making memories.
Yes.
And so that's really, I'm not saying it's refreshing, because Saturday morning everybody comes over for brunch at our house and to pick up their kids. And, you know, by Saturday noon I'm like,
yes, I know.
And I'm remembering what it was like to raise those kids. So so that's really good, though. It's good for us and good for our family.
Yeah, memories, and get you there young again and watching all the stuff. So everything, it's awesome. It's awesome. Well, anything else that you would like to say to the good people, of course, of the whole conference, but particularly to the North Central District?
Well, let's just do ministry. Let's love on the people and show them how Jesus can change our lives. That's what I want. That's what I want a lot to happen everywhere and with everyone.
Well, what else we can say? That's it. That's awesome. Well, thank you again for doing this, and many blessings upon your ministry. I know that things are, wrapping it up and getting pretty crazy, but in this particular time of transition with episcopacy transition and everything, but I know that you guys are working hard, so take care of yourself, and thank you for all you do, and blessings to everybody in North Central and across our conference. Blessings. Bye.
Bye.
Hello, you guys. I'm Carlos Ramirez. I'm here today via Zoom. It's our first Zoom meeting that we're going to have in a circuit update. And I'm here with our good friend Ed Payton. He is going to tell us all about his ministry at Boston Avenue United Methodist Church in Tulsa. But just delightful that Ed decided to be with us here today and accepted our invitation. So welcome, Ed. And could you please just introduce to the good people of Oklahoma who you are, who you worship, which church do you, obviously I said Boston Avenue, but, attend and all those kinds of things.
Sure. Well, thank you, Carlos, for having me. And my wife and I are both members at Boston Avenue United Methodist Church, along with some of our kids as well. And we found our way to Boston Avenue actually because of one of our kids. We were kind of dissatisfied with the youth group where we were at, and we said, let's just go looking for one. They found Boston Avenue. They had 2 years left in high school, and Judith, and my wife and I said, well, we can do anything for 2 years as long as they're connected in a vital and growing and dynamic youth group. Well, that was 15 years ago that we made that 2-year commitment, and we haven't looked back. It's really home to us. We are so blessed to be a part of this body of Christ and fellowship there. We're active in the Maranatha Sunday School class there, which has over 100 members, and it has a very dynamic mission program as well as social activities. And along with that, we've served in a variety of capacities. My wife is currently vice chair of the administrative board, and I've served, we both served on the work area on mission. I was chairman of the administrative board at one point and lay leader. And last summer of 2023, we lost the minister who was overseeing alternate worship and also our missions program. And I was asked to step in on a temporary basis to help facilitate our missions program. And I've been doing that the last year, and it's been a great blessing to me. My background is I have had several careers during my lifetime. I was an attorney practicing attorney, and then I went into business about 30 years ago with my brother, Celebrity Attractions. We did entertainment in a 4-state region, and we're associate producers of shows on Broadway. I was a Tony voter for about a decade, and then retired from that. And that was 7 years ago. And as I said, about a year ago, I picked up this work that I've been doing, and it's just been a real blessing to be a part of, because our church is so mission minded. And one of our core values, we have 9 core values, and one of them is developing missions partnerships as Christ's love in action. And this church is really committed to seeing that happen. Our 9th core value is making sure that that is done with excellence, striving for excellence in the service of God.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, thank you for that. And so, I mean, you already kind of tapped into it, but can you tell us what does it mean to answer God's calling as a layperson? Because we hear a lot about, give us your calling as a pastor, but and we say that, and we talked about it, but I think that many times we forget or overlook the calling that God has for lay people. So can you tell us about your calling?
Well, yeah, I'm a recovering Baptist. My father was Baptist, my mother was Methodist. I was raised in a Baptist church, and eventually, I always say to people, the church left me as I grew in my spiritual journey. And so we're really blessed to be at a place that I really do consider a spiritual home. And one of the most important focuses that I have gained from my being a part of the United Methodist Church is a real focus and commitment to that spiritual growth, the spiritual formation.
Yeah.
And oh gosh, it's been over a dozen years ago that I started a journey of doing contemplative prayer and meditation to open myself up and take time in my life to be open to that still small voice, God's leading.
Yes.
There's so much noise, so much distraction,
Yes.
so much but we are bombarded with every day, from the moment we wake up with the alarm going off to Facebook posts and tweets and on in the digital world, as well as junk mail and the media that goes after us to try and get us to pay attention. And it's really a lot of distraction. And so about a dozen years ago, I started taking time away from those distractions and just opening myself up to trying and strengthen my relationship with God. And that's been a real blessing. And our church really is encourages that. We have a time of contemplation every Friday afternoon at our church in the Rose Chapel. There are other folks within the church who do teachings on a lot of different spiritual practices to help us to become, again, more aware of that still small voice and where it's leading. And so as I said, about a year ago, when we were without a minister of missions, and our senior pastor at the time, David Wiggs, said that he was going to look at the possibility of a lay person taking over. Boy, that really burdened my heart, Carlos. I couldn't shake it. There was just something about that just God kept saying to me, you need to take a look at it. And so I did. And it has just been such a blessing to me. And that's what happens when I've opened myself up to doing things that I felt being led to do. Blessings have occurred and things have come together in ways that I could not have anticipated. So, and I think even more than ever before, after a season of disaffiliation and discord, the lay people of the United Methodist Church really need to take a good hard look at where we're headed in the future and be a part of making some of those decisions and making some of those commitments to lead us there. Because we're not going to really fulfill our potential now unless that happens. If we're relying upon just the ministers and the ordained folks, they don't have, God isn't going to be just using them.
Right.
And we aren't going to live beneath our privilege as a church and as a denomination if we as lay people don't step up and respond to the call of God right now.
That's awesome. That's great. Thank you for saying that. Yes. Which is going to lead me later on to one of the last questions. But before we go there, I know that I was introduced you were introduced to me through another layperson, Kristen Harland. Shout out to her.
Yes.
And she was telling me about your ministry with Cooks on Hills particularly. So I know that you have maybe other ministries, but particularly that one. So what ministries are you involved in? If it's Cooks on Hills, is that dear to your heart, but maybe other ones as well?
Well, last summer when I started leading the mission work at Boston Avenue, the first thing I did was take several months and to sit down and listen to the mission stakeholders in our church, the folks who really felt a passion and calling to be involved in mission, our work area on mission, and others who had been involved and active, and just to hear what they had to say. And then, as I said, our core value is developing mission partnerships. We don't do a lot of direct mission work ourselves. There's a few times we do, but mostly it's about partnering up with folks who have a mission infrastructure in place already. And they already have some expertise that we don't have.
Right.
And so rather than recreating that mission wheel, we use them and partner with them to do things. So I then reached out and sat down and listened to our mission partners. And this past year, in 2023, we had 54 mission partners. Now, I didn't get a chance to talk with all of them. And some of those mission partners, it's a matter of we write a check and give it to them, and that's all we do. Others we might do a special project with, and then some we're very much involved with. And we have teams of people and resources that on a regular basis are working and volunteering and doing things with them. So one of the ones that God just put on my heart to go and visit was Cooks and Hills in Cookson, Oklahoma. It is a 75-year-old Methodist ministry that has been serving 3 of the 4 poorest counties in Oklahoma during that time period. And they hit upon some real hard times beginning in 2019. First of all, nationally, the Methodist Church, it's a national mission of the United Methodist Church, and all across the country, because of funding shortfalls, those entities were being cut back by as much as 40% of their budget. Cookson wasn't the only one. There were others that we've partnered with and worked with, like McCurdy Ministries in Espanola, New Mexico, that received similar cuts. And there also was some other challenges that Cookson was facing at the time, a transition of leadership that didn't go as well as everyone had hoped for. And so a new person was placed there, appointed there, Reverend Judy Deere, on a part-time basis. And then she got things going again. COVID happened. And Cookson, like so many of our mission efforts, really rely upon church volunteers and church involvement and to keep that relationship going with the local church. And the result was that all dried up almost overnight. And so there they were with a cut in resources and then a cut in the volunteer relationships that they had built over the years. And then disaffiliation came along, and some of the churches who had been stalwart supporters backed out and stopped supporting Cookson, unfortunately. And so when I went down in July of last year, my wife and I did, and met with Judy. She was an individual who was just trying to keep Cookson's head above water at that point, with 2 part-time volunteers, or not volunteers, but 2 part-time staff members. And so we started saying, okay, what do you need? What can we do? And we decided to focus on the hunger, because this is an area of our state that is, well, first of all, on a national level, the food insecurity rate is about 12%. In Oklahoma, on a statewide level, it's 14%. And we're one of the 5 worst states in the United States for food insecurity. And but then these 3 counties that Cookson serves, the child food insecurity rate is 28%.
Wow.
Well, that means 1 of every 4 kids plus go to bed hungry at night. So we decided that was going to be our focus. We applied for a grant with the Woodward Trust and received money from them. We applied to the state for a food insecurity grant. We applied to the Brannon Foundation through the Work Area on Mission at Boston Avenue for a grant. and we have raised over almost $70,000
Wow.
and have hired two more people to work on
Mm,
that, doubled their staff with a
mm,
focus again on two things. One, on hunger, combating hunger. And we
mhm,
have the Cooks and Hills Combat Hunger Program,
mm.
CH squared, we call it. And we have a food pantry coordinator who is working part-time, and he has now held 3 or 4 food pantries
Mm,
where people have come in and gotten food just to get things started. And
mhm,
then we also hired an individual, Hannah Deerdorf, who just started work last week, and her job is going to be to reach out to churches and and reconnect with churches
mm,
throughout Eastern Oklahoma
mhm,
to rebuild the ministries, especially focused on combating hunger.
mm.
They have a senior feeding program at Cooks and Hills, and then we have the food pantry that we've just started. And then we also have the snack and pack program where on Fridays, uh, 1 gallon bags of food are handed out to students who
Mm.
may be facing food insecurity over the weekend. And
Wow.
it's a real a renaissance, a resurgence that's
Mm,
happening in Cooks. And we have a long way to go and need a lot of help from
right.
other churches and lay people for their tool time, for this food pantry donations and food drives, for the
Mhm,
Christmas store that they do.
mm.
But we're headed in the right direction.
Yeah,
And God has just blessed us all the way along and bringing people together to make this happen.
that's amazing. That's just in part of this podcast is we talked about the importance of education with project transformation, and now we are in the importance of combating poverty and particularly hunger. And I mean,
Yes.
so needed all these two ministries that our church has. So many times we hear about just disgruntled people in general about the state of the
Yeah.
church and the outsiders about sometimes the church is not doing what we're supposed to be doing and everything. But I hope that these two examples, in particular, that the one that we're talking right now with Cooks and Hills, addressing these 3 different counties with food insecurity, that the church is doing what we can, the most good we can in those counties, and I hope that is a beam of hope for everybody else and for these people as well.
Well, and that's really important. We're not going to solve this problem.
Right.
I know that,
Mm,
but I'm always reminded of what Jesus said, that when you do it for one
yes.
of the least of these,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
we're not all called to be Mother Teresa or Martin Luther King, but we're
Mm,
all called,
yes.
and we can make a difference with one.
Yes.
And so that's been our focus. And as I said, we've only had 3 food pantries thus far, but the
Mm,
goal is to have it on a regular basis. And
yeah.
then when we get in touch with these folks, we
Hmm.
also discovered that the rate of involvement and participation in the SNAP program, the old food, the what used to be the food stamp program, the SNAP program, it is one of the lowest in these 3 counties in the whole state. And
Mm,
so if we can get folks who need food and are
yes.
in food insecurity to apply for and be eligible for that,
Right.
then we'll have an economic impact in the community as
Right.
well as helping to feed these households.
Yeah.
So we're just getting started.
That's awesome. That's
And we
great.
need
Many
lots of lay
blessings
folks
upon
to
that.
help us out.
Yes, yes. So
Thank you.
Kate, I mean, you already been talking about it and what it is. So, what do you think will be, top 3 or so challenges that this ministry is going to be facing in the future, or you're already facing?
Well, I think one of the things you kind of referred to, Carlos, and that is we've just come out of a very difficult time period for the United Methodist Church,
Mm,
and the division and disaffiliation and
right.
dissension and all can just wear people down.
Yeah.
And so one of the things we face is the challenge of not letting that experience define who we
Mm,
are and what we're going to do.
oh, yes, yes.
Because I really truly believe God has some great days ahead for the United Methodist Church. And it's not so much about reaching out to the community and trying to get people to come into the building. That's
Hmm. Of
important, and we should continue to do that.
course.
But I think what God is really trying to do right now with the
Mm,
United Methodist Church is saying, the church needs to leave the building
Mhm.
and get out into the community
Mm.
and get involved with the community
Yeah.
and share the love of Christ
Yeah.
for the transformation of the
Yes.
world. That's what, we were about as Methodists. And we've been the last few years focused internally on this
Yeah.
division and
Yeah. Yeah.
disaffiliation and on ourselves. And it's time
Yes.
to break free of that. And we are free of that. We can shake it
Yes.
off, shake the dust off our sandals and move forward.
Preach it, preach it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Yes, that's a, many people need to hear to these what you're telling right now. So thank you for saying that. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
So what are the initial blessings that you've seen from these ministry that you're already starting? As you're saying, the initial food pantry, the SNAP program, and everything. What do you think, or what are the as I said, the blessings, the fruits that you're seeing already?
Well, as I mentioned, we very quickly went to trying to figure out how we can get some resources together, and
Mhm.
it's just amazing how things have fallen into place,
Mm.
um, and people have fallen into place who were needed. One example, there is an old greenhouse on the campus at Cookson Hills,
Mhm.
and it hasn't been used for several years.
Mm.
And so we started talking about this food pantry, and lo and behold, a group from the Methodist Church in Miami are going to come down and moved uh, that greenhouse up to where the food pantry and the feeding site are,
Wow.
and and that just fell into place.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that we had actually anticipated, but we were wanting eventually to get the greenhouse going so
Yeah.
that we could have plants and seeds to distribute to folks to help them to become more self-sufficient,
Yeah.
nutritionally self-sufficient.
Yes.
And that just, again, God worked it to where it fell into place.
Yeah.
Just last week, we took a group down to tour a place called Greenleaf Nursery, which is right down the road from Cookson Hills. And then it was a social thing. And we had lunch at a little cafe, and I invited the staff members from Cookson to join us.
Mhm.
And the president of Greenleaf was there at our lunch. And we got to talk, and I started talking about Cookson during the lunch to let everybody know about it and introduce the Cookson staff. And now the Greenleaf folks are interested in seeing how they could help out
Oh, that's awesome.
with Cookson. So it is a matter of opening up
Yes.
ourselves individually and
Mm.
just taking a step at a time in a direction, and God will do the rest. It's just, again, I could spend a lot of time talking about individual things that have happened over the last
Yes.
year that have brought people together in
Mhm.
ways that I couldn't have known. People I didn't know that have come
Mm.
together
Yeah.
who are interested in helping and making a difference through Cookson.
Yeah. That's great. Which I like what you just said. It's a matter of opening ourselves up and God will do the rest, right? So
Yes.
maybe that is the
Yeah.
answer for what I'm going to ask you right now. So what would you say to the people, or the lay people, the lay persons, everybody across our conference about answering God's calling? So as I said, maybe that's a good summary, but if there's anything that you want to add or anything else that you want to say about that particular topic.
Well, you know, I've been fortunate to lead several mission teams,
Mm.
most recently down to McCurdy Ministries in Española, New Mexico. And our first team that was going to go was in 2020. And we were all set to go in May. Well, guess what happened? We didn't go. And we had great plans to do some construction and other work down there to build an outdoor counseling area for they have a counseling program there called Project Carino, and it is a free counseling service for children and youth.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an area that has been decimated by the opioid crisis.
Wow.
62% of children under the age of 6 are being raised by their grandparents because of it. It is the #1 county in the entire country on a per capita basis for opioid
Mm.
death.
Oh.
And so there's a lot of trauma, and this counseling service
Mm.
helps to deal with it.
Mm.
And so we were going to build an outdoor counseling area. We were going to put up a privacy fence around the area. We had these plans and the resources and the people to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and we couldn't go. So
Mm.
I was talking with them on the phone and saying, I wish there was some way we could still get this done.
Right.
Some people who we could maybe even hire and
Right.
do at least a part of what we were going to do. And the man who was the building facilitator at the time, Lawrence said, there is, Ed, I know there is. There's some unemployed construction workers down here I know who would love to help out. We ended up doing everything we had planned to do with professional construction people
Nice.
under budget.
Great.
We did it all.
That's awesome.
And I went, oh my gosh, why then are we sending a team down? Well,
Mm.
there's a reason why,
Mm.
because it changes you as a person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So next year we went down and we had this, we did more work on the campus down there. And what I learned in the process was God calls you not just to do good
Mm.
for others, but to do
Mm.
good in your life.
Mm. Mm.
And if you don't open yourself up to that
Yeah.
experience,
Yeah.
then you won't have the blessing
Yes.
that God intends for us.
Mm.
And we just earlier this summer, we had a team of 13 go back down to McCurdy, and we did some more landscaping work, 60 ton of gravel over this area, and we put in new landscaping and
Mm.
everything.
Wow.
And again, it was such a blessing to us. We could have hired somebody to do it, but we would have missed out on the
Yes.
blessing that God had for that group that went down.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say to lay people, be selfish, open yourself up to God and get involved, and
Mm-hmm.
you will not only bless others, and
Yeah.
God will bless others through you, but you'll be blessed as well.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yes, that's awesome. It has been my experience when we go yeah, either abroad or just next door for any mission work. One that I always get uh, blessed by just being there, by whatever it is that we need to be doing. You say moving dirt or sacking something,
Yeah,
whatever it is, doesn't
yeah,
matter what it is. There's something that the Holy Spirit moves within you that it is a blessing. So,
yeah. I always tell our teams, Ecclesiastes 3:12,
hmm,
I know of nothing better for a person than to be happy and do good
yeah,
while they live. And
hmm,
I can tell you, being happy and doing good are inextricably intertwined.
yes,
If you do good, you're going to be happy.
yes, yes,
It's
I
just a
agree.
real blessing.
Yes, yes. Um, well, I mean, is there anything else that you would like to share about your ministry, about Boston Avenue, Cooks and Hills, whatever it is, or something that it is just burning in your heart that you want to share with the good people of the conference, the Oklahoma conference?
Yes, well, a couple of things. Again, I
Yes.
think I've shared about Cookson, and if there are some interest in other lay folks of getting involved, there are
Mhm.
so many wonderful opportunities. And if they'll reach out to Boston Avenue, we will plug them into the folks down at Cookson, and we can be a part. They can be a part of this great renaissance that's occurring down there.
Great.
Another project that we have going, and we're going to be hosting a dinner in September, relates to Exodus House. We
Oh,
are starting with the blessing of the new director there, Mike Thomas, and Keith Dobbs, the executive director, a group of folks we're calling the Friends of Exodus House.
mm,
And so we're looking for churches and UWF circles, United Methodist Men, to help us. We're going to paint the entire building on the
wow.
outside.
Okay.
And we already have a donation of money to buy the paint and supplies. So we're just going to need people to show up. We're going to be planning this in September at a dinner meeting. So if you're interested in that, let us know and we'll get you in touch with the Exodus House folks and get that going. There's a great work being done at Exodus House in both Tulsa and Oklahoma City.
Mm,
And this at Tulsa, the building needs some work on it. We've been doing some already, but this is a project that we need lots of hands on. So
yes.
if there people are interested in helping out, let us know, and they can be a part of that as well.
So they can contact Boston Avenue directly, and they will be
Right.
to it. And do you have a specific date that you have in September where you guys are going to be working at?
No, well, we're going to
No.
have a dinner. In fact, tonight we have a planning meeting about
Okay.
getting people together.
Okay.
So I will have a date, and I can be reached at missions@bostonavenue.org,
Great.
or just call Boston Avenue, and I'll get them in touch with the folks either at Cookson or at Exodus House, so that those folks interested can be a part of that. two great missions and two great ministries
yes,
that the
that's
Methodists
awesome.
do.
Yes, and just remind those who may not be too familiar with Exodus Houses, what is the mission? What do they do?
Right. Exodus House is a ministry of of CJAM, which is has a long history with the United Methodist Church, and CJAM is the Justice and Ministry Mercy Ministries, and Exodus House is a program where folks who are leaving prison can come and get through this program. They have a 90-some percentile success rate where folks are not going back to jail. They are they are in fact successful. They get education, they get employment opportunities, they get a support group in place, spiritually as well as physically. And they, as I said, their recidivism rate is less than 10%. So
Wow.
it's a program that allows folks to leave prison and have success.
That's
And
awesome. Yes.
administers to the entire person in that way. And so, yeah, it's and there's a new director there, Mike Thomas, who's just doing an excellent job of recruiting folks from the prisons who are going to be successful, and also recruiting the churches and resources in our community to impact on their lives.
Awesome. So you heard it, missions at bostonavenue.org, and you will get
That's right.
all the information that you need. And thank you again, Ed, for doing this. It's wonderful. And it is so refreshing to hear your excitement, your passion for it, your passion for God. And as I said, it is refreshing in the sense that it does not come from, the person who typically is supposed to be, the cheerleader for God, which is usually is the ministers, but from a lay person who says, everybody just open yourself up to God and God will do the rest. And you're saying, be selfish because God is going to touch you and touch the lives of many people if you just open yourself up. So I thank you for doing this, and I thank you for saying yes. Thank you for all you're doing, and many blessings upon Cooks on Heels, and of course everything else that Boston Avenue is doing. So many blessings upon your ministry that may last for many years, and many lives can be transformed through you and through everybody who's involved in all of this.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Carlos.
Yeah, thank you. And for everybody else, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Welcome, I'm Carlos Ramirez, and welcome back to Circuit Update. We are today with Marla Lobo, and we are excited to be interviewing her and having a conversation with her. But before we start our conversation, please make sure that you like us. If you're watching us on YouTube or this platform watching us, please make sure that you subscribe and you like us. If you're listening to us through Spotify or Apple, just also subscribe, and please share with people that you may think that they like and want to know what is going on in the Oklahoma Annual Conference. Many things are happening, so please make sure that you share with everybody. So with that in mind, Marla, thank you for being here today. I'm excited that you are here today. Yes. Payton James was here in last time that we talked about, and she kind of introduced us into Project Transformation. But of course, we're gonna now hear the whole shebang now.
All right.
If you will, from Project Transformation. So, could you please tell the good people of Oklahoma, who are you?
Sure.
And what is going on with PT?
Okay. First of all, before I introduce myself, I just want to say a word of thanks to our Oklahoma Annual Conference for their support of Project Transformation. This was our 22nd summer, and there have been so many of you that are probably listening and watching this who have been involved with PT, and just a word of grateful thanks from myself, our staff, and every child who has been impacted. So as Carlos mentioned, I'm Reverend Marla Lobo, and I am a local pastor in the United Methodist Conference, our Oklahoma conference. I figured out this is my 13th summer. And so I, before serving here as the director of PT Oklahoma, I served local churches in the Oklahoma City area. before I became a pastor, I was a public school teacher, and for 10 years. And then before that, I started my professional career in the private sector. So, but I've been involved with PT for about 10 years.
Wow.
And I had the privilege of becoming the director in March of this year. And I tell people in the PT world that I've been everything but a kid and a college student. So, but you know, I've been with PT for about 10 years, but really for my whole profession, or my whole adult life, I have worked with literacy programs for children, because I'm deeply convicted in the power of education to improve literally every aspect of life.
Sure.
So you asked me about PT, and Payton provided a lot of great information because she served with us for many summers. That Project Transformation is an 8-week summer literacy day camp, and the elementary aged children that attend are behind in their reading and live in under-resourced households. The program is completely free to all participating families, and it runs basically in June and July. So the kids are with us from 9 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. Each day they read for 30 minutes one-on-one with a volunteer, which is a really important part of our day. And then they do other things throughout the day too. So every day they do art and STEM and recreation. They have guests in that talk about vocation and skills.
Awesome.
They go on field trips to fun places and educational places. And one of the things that we do is we provide a healthy breakfast and lunch and snack each day for each child.
Yes.
So what some people don't know is PT Oklahoma is actually part of a national network, and so which is based in Dallas, and we are one of 7 chapters that serves children each summer.
So can you tell all of us what is the current literacy situation in Oklahoma that you know and that you're well aware to, and can you tell everybody else?
So the situation for literacy in Oklahoma is deeply concerning, and it should be to every Oklahoman and every United Methodist. Today, 74% of 4th graders are reading below proficiency level. And when you look at 8th graders, that number actually increases to 81%. And so some people ask me, well, why elementary level literacy programs as opposed to, you know, middle school or high school? Well, somewhere along the 4th grade, there's a change that happens in our education system. From the early days through 4th grade or maybe even 5th grade, children are learning how to read. And then there's a shift that happens around there that they're reading to learn. And so if we can provide additional supports and interventions to get those early learners, emerging readers, beginning readers more confident in their reading skills, more capable in their reading skills, then that will carry them on through middle school and high school. So that's why our model is around elementary school literacy. Not that the other ones are not important, but just if we can have that impact early on. So low levels of literacy certainly impact children throughout their lives as they go through teenagers and they grow through adulthood. Now, it's absolutely true that you can learn without reading well, but it's much harder.
Right.
And there are fewer resources available to you. And so we believe that if we can impact children who are struggling with reading in their elementary school, that they can grow those skills and overcome the low level of literacy that they're currently experiencing.
Yes. Just to concur what you're saying, many principals that I've been fortunate to be in contact with and working with them and after school programs and everything mention the same thing that you're saying, that if we cannot provide a good solid foundation later in life, of course middle school and high school, but then college and higher education
Right.
is that much harder, and then the
Yes.
dropout rates elevate and that kind of
Yes.
stuff. So it's just
Yes.
kind of a cascade effect kind of
Yes.
thing. So it's important to do this kind of work.
Well, and just kind of as a sidebar, there's actually a correlation between low levels of literacy and incarceration. So not only does it impact livelihood and potential life, it can also have some significant negative impacts as well.
PT is a very vital and important ministry of the Oklahoma Annual Conference. So can you please tell us how is PT, Parish Transformation, making a difference in the lives of children and their families and young adults and congregations across the Oklahoma United Methodist Church?
That's a really great question. Thanks for asking that. So the model of PT, if you can think of this circle that has those three things that you mentioned, children, young adults, college students, and churches, imagine that as a circle where there's like a bidirectional flow of relationship between each one of those pieces. And so none of them operates in isolation, they all flow together. Of course, the first one is children. And so we've talked about the impact and the importance of literacy on children, but we also work on their social emotional learning so that they feel more confident, they're more self-aware, and they know how to get along better with each other. And so they enter the classroom more confident individuals is our goal. Not only their reading skills better, but their relationship skills and self-awareness is better as well. For their families, it's, families want the best for their children. And so we have great relationships with our families because they see the importance and the impact that PT has on their children. And oftentimes, if you look at our sites, many of the same kids are returning because the families have now recognized the value.
Yes.
In many cases, and I've been at sites that those families develop a relationship with the partner church. They realize the partner church cares about their children and about them, and there begins a relationship that blossoms maybe over the course of a couple of years. But there's this wonderful new relationship. So for children and their families, there's a lot of impact. The next one is our college members. We haven't really talked about that much, but we actually hire college-age young adults to run our camps each day. On average, there are 6 different young adults at each site, each one of our host sites, and each one of them has a very specific role that they fill. So they live together, they work with children, families, all of the volunteers and people at our host churches. And so it's a great and powerful professional and personal development opportunity. In some ways, it's kind of like a crucible, so there's lots of learning that happens on those sites. I think that one of the things that many of our churches may not realize is that the college members are compensated for their time. We have this wonderful grant with AmeriCorps that offers us the ability to pay each college member $3,500 throughout the summer. And then they get a scholarship that they can send to the institution of their choice. That's about $1,450. It changes just a little bit from year to year. So college members not only get this wonderful growth opportunity, they're paid, and then they also receive free housing and most of their meals as a part of this. So, and then they get to develop not only relationships with each other, they get to develop relationship with children and their families and all the wonderful volunteers and hosts that we have at each of our sites. And of course, the last piece of this model is churches. And so for our local churches, they get a proven way to impact the families and the children living in their community.
Yes.
And they too have an opportunity to build new relationships. Basically an average PT site has 50 kids. So we have just brought 50 kids to your door, that you can now develop relationships with the children and their families. Each summer, each host site has a couple of family fun nights where it's just a great way for families and churches to engage. And we've seen time and time again families say, I drove by this church, I never really went inside, and now I feel like these people care about me and my family. And then the churches also get to develop relationships with these young adults, the college students that are serving. And in fact, many of the college students who we have that choose to return to PT for, and sometimes 3 and 4 summers, like Payton, they want to go back to the same site.
Right.
Because they've built those relationships with the local church. And so altogether, all of these things, all of these pieces are critical to making change happen for our children, for the college young adults, and for our churches.
Yeah, so right there, if you want to make an impact in your community, if you want to be involved in the immediate mission field of your community, what better way to do it with them? Prayer transformation, you're making a life-changing experience for them. You get to, I know that it is a tricky thing because AmeriCorps and the whole thing with, but still we can share our faith of Jesus Christ resurrected with the children, with the families, with the AmeriCorps, well, with the members, in a way or the other, with showing them. So PT, so have that in your minds and in your resources there ready for you to do that, which I think that, well, it'll take me here a minute, I will get in there to that. But so what do you think are a couple of highlights that you can say for these go around of PT of these last summer? I mean, it's so fresh still. We're just starting school, and so what do you think about it?
So we were so excited when, you've got to talk about, at least for a minute, about statistical data.
Yes.
And so 74% of our children improved their reading scores this summer. And so that was the highest it's been in the last 10 years.
Wow.
And it was the highest across our entire PT network. And so that means 74% of our children entered their classroom even better, even stronger than they were at the end of the school year.
That's great.
96% of them maintained their reading level, so and avoided the summer slide. So you hear that word a lot, but what it really means is across the course of the summer, that elementary children typically lose about 20% of the reading skills they gain through the entire school year. So they're at least, they have at least not lost anything and are ready to go back. They're not in kind of a remediation role. So we're very happy about that. I think that, statistically, I think that our reading outcomes are really important.
Yes.
The next thing that kind of sticks out in my mind was we had 22 young adults that served with us this summer, and I just loved seeing the bonds develop between each other, the teams form. It's hard to live with somebody and work with somebody that you don't know, that's culturally very different than you, sometimes. So just the way that they bonded and worked together as a team, the way that they navigated concerns and challenges with their host sites, the way that they worked with the children, the way that they worked with volunteers. It was just so meaningful to see how they all came together to do that. And the last one is kind of just a story about one of our members. We had a young woman who served at one of our PT sites. Her name was Lauren, and she first came to PT as a camper.
Oh, wow.
Who was behind in her reading, and she came back and served with PT as a teenage volunteer. And now she's in college, and she came back and served as a member at one of our sites. At the end of the summer, we have kind of this celebration dinner, just kind of a celebration of the PT summer. And Lauren's mom made a point to come seek me out to tell me how transformative that had been, not just for Lauren, but for their whole family. That they said, we were readers, but Lauren we couldn't get her to enjoy reading, to
Right.
love reading, to
Right.
have those things. And so her time in PT was absolutely the thing that helped her really build those skills and have served her on. And just to hear that Lauren recognizes that and is willing to serve that back. So there's lots of stories
Yes.
that just flow through PT all
That's amazing.
summer long.
That's awesome.
So
Was she serving here in Oklahoma?
yes, so she was in PT Tulsa. So
That's awesome.
yes,
That's
she was in
great.
PT Tulsa.
That's so great. So what is next for the good people of PT?
So what I wanted to say is, so this summer we had 4 sites, Wesley, El Reno, Muskogee, St. Paul, Southern Hills here in Oklahoma City, and Southern Hills in Tulsa. And through those 4 sites, we were able to serve 136 kids,
Wow.
which is wonderful. And we are grateful to every site. So, but I want to kind of just take a step back and help remind us that before the pandemic, we were serving an average of 450 kids each summer. So our number one goal is to rebuild our capacity so that we can serve even more children in Oklahoma.
Yes.
So believe it or not, although summer is still kind of going, we're already working on 2025. And so our goal is to double the number of sites for 2025. And I think we're on track to do that. And so our number one goal is to increase our capacity so we can serve more kids next summer.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah, it's such a needed. I'm a big advocate for project transformation, big advocate, which that takes me to this question. How can, churches in Oklahoma, people in Oklahoma can get involved with project transformation?
Okay. So, being Wesleyan, John Wesley reminds us that some of us send the good news, and some of us carry the good news. And so project transformation offers both of those opportunities. For churches, you can carry the good news by being one of our host sites. And we'll talk more about how to reach out to us if you are interested in having a conversation. But my goodness, you can be a partner. All of our churches, all of our host sites have many partners that make project transformation possible. And so we would invite you to either be a host church or a partner church. For individuals, if you are in a partner church, then sign up and help. Or you don't have to be a partner church to come help us. We have many people that do. And it's not just reading. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Reading volunteers are really important, and we need a lot of them. But there's other ways. You can help with meals. You can help with field trips. You can help bring a specialized skills. Maybe you're a doctor or an engineer or a fireman or something. Come in and tell us about your job. The kids love to have visitors. Or maybe you have a skill like you're an artist or a musician. Come share with us those kind of things. The other thing is that I want to invite both churches and individuals to consider bringing financial gifts to project transformation. With COVID, with candidly the disaffiliation conversation that has dominated our landscape for a while now, PT has lost about 80% of the gifts from individual churches and individual members of our congregation. And so our capacity or our ability to reach more children will be in part based on our financial donations. So we would invite churches and individuals to consider either one-time or reoccurring financial gift. And honestly, the easiest way to do that is through the local church. Just write a check to your local church and make sure it's designated to PT. That's the easiest way. You can also go on our website, projecttransformation.org/Oklahoma, and donate that way. And so we would just ask that you would consider a financial gift. It's really important for us to serve.
Yes.
And then follow us on Facebook. We have a great Facebook page, Project Transformation OK. We'll be sharing our sites for our host churches for 2025. We'll be having the application that young adults can fill out to serve. Both of those things will be coming this fall. There's some other things in the works that we'll be able to share, but it's a great way to stay up with what the latest news with Project Transformation is. And then lastly, if you have a group in your local church or your local church would like to have someone come talk about Project Transformation, I would love to do that. Yes. And so I would love to come, at your invitation, at your schedule to do that. I'll be also happy to bring the message on a Sunday morning. So you can reach me at mlobo@okumc.org.
Awesome. So you heard it here. Reverend Lobo is ready to be there preaching or teaching at any given moment. Give her a call or send an email.
All right.
And all those links are going to be there. You can see them later here in the lower third. So I'm so happy just that you are here. Thank you for what you do. It's an important ministry. Project Transformation is such a vital ministry. And thank you for doing that. And I know that next year we're going to have a lot more kids served, a lot more, God is going to help us. And so just have, Marla in your prayers, have PT in your prayers. And not only that, you heard all what you can be involved, all what you can do. So please help so that we can make Project Transformation 2025 a great year for Project Transformation for PT.